to the Ungovernables, the Captain's Crew, the LFA family, McGroy Nation. We're coming to you live from where? From the deep red state of Tennessee on rumble.com/LFA TV. Welcome to Ungoverned. Happy Tuesday to you. You know, I'm going to give you a little inside baseball. Oh, we talk a little bit of football again today. I know. I don't want to talk about sports. That's what you do on Saturdays. Yeah, but this is a little bit of a blend of both, okay? But a little inside baseball. Every time you hear me hesitate when I go, and happy, and it takes a long time, it's because I don't know what day it is.
Oh, yeah.
I almost named every day of the week before I realized today was Tuesday.
Last week, I thought every day was Tuesday.
Yes, last week Brennan thought every day was Tuesday. This morning I thought it was Monday again because the Super Bowl was still fresh on my mind. Not the game itself, but the fallout of the halftime show. Not the All-American halftime show, which opened up like this. All right, that's just me finding any excuse to play Brantley Gilbert. I saw a comment in our chat. Melly Johnson 0811 says, I was there at the Turning Point halftime show. You were there live? Melly Johnson, were you there live at the Turning Point halftime show? I am very interested in hearing about that. How is that experience?
Pics or it didn't happen.
Pics or it didn't happen. And you can't put links in the chat. Can't put pics in the chat either. Or you actually physically can't put pics in the chat. But we don't do links unless it's LFA related, which is great because people could start spamming nonsense into the chat. You know, it's terrible. But Melly Johnson was there at the halftime show. Said yes. Melly Johnson says yes. Was there live? How was it? Was it a fun time? I would imagine it had to have been a fun time. If Brantley Gilbert plays music, Brantley Gilbert plays music, it's obviously going to be a fun time. But we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about today. Is Bad Bunny nasty? Look, listen, okay? Nasty Rabbit. Is the Nasty Rabbit? Melly Johnson says it was amazing. Is he in trouble with the FCC? Should he be in trouble with the FCC?
Yes.
I think he should be in trouble with the FCC because I can tell you what, I fill in a lot on the radio. I do a lot of radio these days on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. I filled in for the Vince Colonnese show, 3 hours syndicated on hundreds of markets across the country. I can tell you something. If I used explicit language on terrestrial radio, broadcast, and on a broadcast medium, not cable, right? Not cable, but terrestrial broadcast as NBC is. If I used in English some of the language that Nasty Rabbit used at the halftime show, I would most likely never work a day in radio again, or at least not for a while. And the broadcaster would likely be fined, and I may have to account for some things. So, since nobody's above the law, as our friend says right here, look at him. Isn't he a beautiful rooster? He's a beautiful rooster, right? If nobody's above the law, I believe, look, here's the deal. I believe that the FCC should look into this. It's like the FCC looked into the Jimmy Kimmel situation with Charlie Kirk. I think the FCC should absolutely look into this. I don't think it would be... what happened?
Misfit goes, this is exactly why I can't do radio.
Yeah, exactly.
He uses profanity.
Misfit is...
constantly.
Misfit's a walking F-bomb, which is great, because the internet is obviously allowed. You're allowed to do that. Satellite radio, you could do that too, because the FCC doesn't have jurisdiction. But I'm just saying, I'm not... This is not me being the word police. Okay? I'm not trying to say, fine him because I don't like what he said. No, there are laws. There are policies. There are enforcement actions the FCC can take in the event that something like this takes place. Again, if I did that, if I uttered profanities that made it through on air on 1210 WPHT or any of the, the wonderful networks that, the Vince show is on, or any other radio. If I go on with Rob Carson, a good friend of ours, right? And I start dropping F-bombs and talking about some of the things, and it's not just the F-bombs. The content as a whole was obscene. Not visually either, but lyrically speaking as well. I would not get away with that, is all I'm saying, okay? So why would Nasty Rabbit, or why should he get away with it? And maybe you could say FCC can look at it, lawyers can look at it and say, all right, letter of the law, it would be a reach. Fine, look into it anyway. Because clearly this nonsense, John Kasich, we were talking about the squish swing of the Republican Party yesterday, right? With Mike Lawler, John Kasich, some of these others. Where Cat Turd said online, we need to do a sissy purge. It was him and Ned Ryan. We need to do a sissy purge of the Republican Party. And people are like, oh, that's ironic because now here you are being the word police. I'm not being the word police. I'm being the accountability police. If nobody is above the law, like the rooster says, right? And the Democrats say, if nobody's above the law, then we need to enforce the law, what? Equally and thoroughly. That's it. Same goes for the conversation on illegal immigration, right? It's it will be too hard to get rid of all 25 million. I don't care how hard it is. You have to get as close to perfect as possible. Michael Lawler, okay? This guy is such an asshat. He annoys the you know what, as Philip Rivers would say. And that annoys the stew out of me. Stew. He doesn't cuss, so he didn't say sugar, honey, iced tea, right? The point of the matter is Congressman Randy Fine, and listen, I'm not his biggest fan, right? I'm not his biggest fan, but there are some people I'm not a big fan of that'll say something that I agree with and say, hey, personally, whatever, I have my differences, but what you said was right. You guys know how I feel about Candace Owens. If Candace Owens came out today and was like, guys, water is wet, I wouldn't be like, hey, I have to rethink my relationship with water now, right? Because, there are just some objective truths that no matter who says it, I don't want to be like the left, where Donald Trump is like, water is so wet. Well, I made jokes about this over the summer, right? We're endorsing oxygen. We love oxygen. We love to breathe. Because then the liberals are going to hold their breath. We're endorsing, we're telling you don't do it. Do not shower with your toaster, right? We don't want you to shower with your toaster. Don't take a bath with your toaster. Liberals will hear that and they'll start showering with their toasters. Remember what happened in the COVID era with the chloroquine, right? The whole thing. And this is a funny thing too. I think Speak sent this to me not too long ago. Hey, if we had just let them eat the Tide Pods, there'd be a whole hell of a lot less of them to worry about right now. Next time, they say never interrupt your enemy when we're making a mistake. When they're making a mistake, we're too compassionate. We're like, no, I'm trying to save your life. They want us dead. You want to eat a Tide Pod, see what happens? Yeah, go ahead, play Tide Pod roulette, whatever. Guys, I'm kidding like 3/4 of the way kidding. I'm also kind of like, if Antifa's like, we're having a Tide Pod party, I'm like, you know what? Not a good idea, but
that's natural selection.
They're not going to take advice from me. Eat the Tide Pods. What do you want me to do? We're going to get into what Randy Fine is highlighting with the FCC and Bad Bunny. Listen, am I the biggest fan of the FCC? They are kind of like the word police, but there are policies that are in place, and I get why they're in place, and that's there. You have the Washington Post. You had John Kasich, the squish of the Republican Party. Oh, this was a great halftime show. RG3. Oh, there was so much love. Well, there was kind of love, there was some kind of motions and some kind of demonstrations of what people may do when they love one another. Maybe love isn't the best word to associate with this, but there was something. I wouldn't call it wholesome like the Washington Post called it. And when we show you what some of these lyrics are translated into English, it's definitely, I wouldn't call it wholesome, okay? I wouldn't call it wholesome. Look, is Kid Rock a saint? No, he's not a saint. Does Brantley Gilbert have a checkered past? Yes, he has a checkered past. But they're open about it. And the All-American Halftime Show was wholesome. It was centered around our country. You had, Brantley Gilbert singing about, being a real American, doing his Dirt Road Anthem, which is, the song he wrote with Colt Ford. Then Jason Aldean, co-opted it, put it on country radio, and it was a great thing that happened to both Brantley Gilbert and Colt Ford as a result. You had Gabby Barrett singing her songs, very innocent, very nice. You had Lee Brice, who's been a big-time supporter of our military. I belong to the drinking class. Nice little party song. It's, oh, well, he's endorsing drinking. All right, well, it's a lot better than what Bad Bunny, Nasty Rabbit was endorsing in his halftime show. And then, Lee Brice singing a pretty emotional song about how the country is changing in a way we don't want to see it change. And then Kid Rock, bringing up his faith towards the end of his performance. These guys, I'm not saying these guys haven't made mistakes. These guys aren't perfect, but let's be completely fair and objective here. You have the All-American halftime show with Turning Point USA, and you have whatever that was with Nasty Rabbit at halftime at the Super Bowl. Which one of them do you want your children watching? Let's just, objectively speaking, left, right, up, down, north, south, east, west, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, Conservative, Antifa, whatever. It doesn't matter what you are. Which one do you want your kids watching? The Turning Point USA performance or the Bad Bunny Nasty Rabbit performance? If you can answer that question objectively, I know the way this chat is going to answer it. My question really is to all the independents out there and to even liberals. Which one do you want your children watching? And I think, guys, the answer is clear. I think this is another one of those 80-20 type issues, okay? Now, again, just because it's something that you wouldn't want your kids to watch doesn't mean the FCC has to go in and fine them and review broadcast licenses and maybe take, disciplinary action against possibly the NFL, possibly Bad Bunny, possibly NBC, etc. The reason why they would do that is if there were violations of law and policy, and I believe it's possible there were, so they should investigate it. What I really want out of this, though, is pressure put on the NFL. And, I get it. Everyone's like, well, you're complaining that the NFL's letting this happen, but you watch the NFL, so you support the NFL. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I do watch the NFL. And by watching the NFL, it does give them support. You know what I support, though, from the NFL? I support the fact that I love football. I am a huge football fan. It is my favorite sport. It is my favorite sport to watch. It is my favorite sport to dive into analytics. It is my favorite sport to talk about. I love football. And what the NFL does that no other football league does is it puts professional football on a field at the gold standard highest level possible. And so free market on that, from a sports standpoint, on-field product standpoint alone, they have earned my business. That's the way it is. Okay? But are there things about that business? Are there things about the league that I would like to see change? Absolutely. First and foremost, the dumbass owner, Roger Goodell. But you know what it's going to take? People like, the NFL should fire Roger Goodell. What it's going to take is it's going to take the owners to do that, and they're probably not going to do it because Goodell is making them an F ton of money. An F ton of money. Back the truck up and just dump wads of cash on every driveway of NFL owners. That's how the NFL works. The only way this changes, the only way if there's any sort of motion, any sort of conversation, any sort of shift on the NFL's perspective and on their position here with regards to Bad Bunny and the halftime show, is if there's pressure from the owners because of a PR nightmare. This could be a PR nightmare. I feel like it's going to pass. And, by tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, probably not going to be much conversation about it. And honestly, whatever. There are bigger fish to fry, like the push to get voter ID passed. That's a little bit more important than the FCC finding Bad Bunny. But we're talking about it today because it is a thing, and it does overlap sports and culture and politics. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to kind of, from 30,000 feet, evaluate what's going on culturally. What do the Turning Point USA numbers tell us? What do the new iTunes numbers tell us about the NFL? Its popularity is not going anywhere, but is there a growing movement of conservatives, right-wingers, etc., Republicans who watch the NFL, who will continue to watch the NFL because they like football, who are eager not to try and beat them or compete with them or anything, but to send a message or to just say, all right, listen, I'll watch you for the football, but the rest of your stuff, you're not getting my eyeballs. And is that the happy medium? Is that the happy medium? Right? Where you're not getting it. Look, I want to be very realistic. You're not getting a nationwide boycott of the NFL. It's just not going to happen. It's too big to fail here in this country. I'm not saying if you boycott the NFL that you're stupid or you're doing something wrong. By all means, if you want to take a stand, take a stand. I'm not forcing you to watch. On the same point, though, on the flip side of that, I dealt with someone. Well, you claim to support all these things, but you watch football, you're a fraud. And I'm like, okay, so because I watch a sport, all of the phone calls, all the work we did 2020, 2022, 2024, coming up in 2026, all the doors that I knocked on, all the people that were mobilized in New York, all the seats that changed hands because of our hard work and the hard work of so many people that joined us in that battle, all the protests that we organized, all of the campaigning that we did, all that got wiped out because of what? Because I watched football? Because you don't like that I watch football? No. So I'm not going to sit there and shame somebody for saying they boycott the NFL. I'm not going to go, haha, you're stupid. You're not making a difference. It's your choice. But on the same point, in the same respect, you could respect other people's choices for watching the game. This is there's cat fighting going on. Oh, you watch the NFL? You must be a communist. I can assure you I'm definitely not a communist because I watch football. I can assure you that. The same way I'm not like, oh, you're a snowflake because you're boycotting the NFL because you don't like that they... Fine, you don't have to watch it. I'm not forcing you to watch. You shouldn't be forcing other people not to watch. We'll get into the FCC. We'll get into the Washington Post. Nasty Rabbit. Brennan, people with nothing to hide.
Hide stuff.
He's hiding a lot of stuff right now. Must have nothing to hide. People are like, his halftime show was a big hit, I mean, he's not acting like it was a big hit. He's not acting like it was a big hit at all. A big win in court in the Ninth Circuit. The Trump administration, Department of Homeland Security, got a huge win, and another one, federal judge and a California law, big win there as well. We will get to all that and more, but before we do that, I want to get to a word from our friends, our good friends over at OFP Farms. It's OFPFarms.com. Nestled in the scenic foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, OFP Farms is more than just a farm. It embodies a tradition of quality and care, proudly operating since 2014. OFP Farms goats are lovingly raised. They love these goats. They love the goats, and they love them in a way better than how the Ayatollah loves the goats. You know what I'm talking about. They're very nice to their goats. They're lovingly raised. They roam open pastures, and they breathe fresh air, which ensures that the milk that those goats produce is of the highest possible standard. The gold standard of goat milk, that's OFP Farms. From creamy goat milk soaps and moisturizers to the nourishing tallow-based balms, each product is thoroughly crafted and thoughtfully crafted with your family's well-being in mind. OFP Farms is committed to sustainable farming practices, providing natural and wholesome products that you can rely on, like the pina colada. Oh, yeah. We're getting caught in the rain. This is the Goat Kisses Lip Balm pina colada flavor. I mean, it's good. I feel like I'm getting caught in the rain right now. Whether you're in search of gentle skincare solutions or simply wish to indulge in the purity of farm fresh goods, OFP Farms warmly invites you to explore their website. That's OFPFarms.com. Their mission is to bring a piece of their farm into your home, nurturing your family with the finest that nature has to offer. Check it out at OFPFarms.com. It's OFPFarms.com. Use the promo code SHAWN for 10% off. It's OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean, OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN. You see it right there on your screen. Oscar Foxtrot, PapaFarms.com, OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN, OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean. All right. I almost said Senator. Congressman Randy Fine. Look, there's a lot of people who aren't a big fan of his. There's talk before he got into Congress again, when he won the special election in Mike Waltz's district in Florida, that that he was a rhino and all of this. Take all of that and throw it away, right? Because what we're going to look at here is wins and losses, ones and zeros. This is a binary thing, okay? This is either a good thing or a bad thing. He's either speaking objective truths or he's lying. And in this case, I don't think Randy Fine is lying, okay? Randy Fine is calling for the FCC and calling on the FCC to take action after Bad Bunny's vulgar halftime show lyrics were translated to English. Again, the FCC has obscenity policies and laws and profanity policies and laws that essentially govern broadcast airwaves. Okay? If this was done on a cable channel, okay, meaning not broadcast, you have to pay for it, a little bit less jurisdiction here, a little bit less of an ability to enforce and evaluate what went on. But in this case, the FCC does have jurisdiction here. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, it was in a different language, so it doesn't matter. Not so fast. Not so fast. Here's a quick little research I did on this FCC rule. The FCC bans obscene content at all times and restricts indecent or profane content on broadcast TV and the radio over the air between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. On the other side, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. is something called safe harbor, right? So there's a little bit more of a leniency there. Now, if it's on cable or streaming, it's not broadcast, so those rules don't apply in that situation. However, NBC, not NBC News, not NBC Sports, NBC over the air, you could have, if you wanted to, and you didn't have a streaming setup and you didn't have a cable provider, you could have watched the Super Bowl with an old-fashioned antenna on Sunday, meaning it's broadcast over the air. You cannot watch Fox News with an old-fashioned antenna. That is a cable, it's known as a cable channel, right? So you need a subscription to some sort of cable or streaming package to access Fox News on your television or mobile phone. You did not need to pay anybody anything other than the electric company to turn your television on to watch the Super Bowl. You don't have to pay for access to over-the-air NBC. Bare bones, over-the-air NBC. That is broadcast television. The profanity that was used by Nasty Rabbit was in Spanish, but the FCC's standard isn't what language is it in. It's whether and this is where the gray area is, it's whether the average viewer would understand it. Okay, well, it's in Spanish. Everyone's saying, oh, well, nobody understood the halftime show, so nobody liked the halftime show. But if you remember, several months leading up to the Super Bowl, what did Nasty Rabbit do? He made a video, right? If you want to understand my halftime show, you better learn Spanish. Well, that's not going to work in his favor. And there's also something called, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's not new to me. I've heard of it for a long time. Have you guys ever heard of Google Translate? You ever heard of that? The Google. You could Google that. What's them words mean in Spanish, man? We speak in Spanish. We languaging. You could Google that. Okay, so I guess Nasty Rabbit didn't realize that Google Translate is a thing? And that people could hear a word and say, what is that? How do you think I figured out how to say Nasty Rabbit in Spanish in my video? El Conejo Desagradable. How do you think I used Google? I used the Google machine. I Googled that. I had to Google the Espanolin. Speaking all them words. Google Translate is a thing.
Speak made a good point.
What do you say?
So we need to learn Spanish, but illegals don't have to learn English.
That's a great idea. That's it. Dems are the rules. The FCC rules can apply to foreign language profanity if the word or phrase is widely understood by English-speaking audience, thinking the terms like common Spanish swear words. The context makes the meaning obvious. If there are subtitles or translations, I don't know if there were subtitles or not, or if it's repeated or emphasized in a way that draws attention. It's less likely to trigger enforcement if the language is obscure, if there's no translation, if the meaning wouldn't be clear to a typical viewer, or if it's brief and not dwelled on. I can tell you, it was definitely dwelled on. In past performance actions, the FCC has stated that indecency determinations depend on whether the material is understandable and patently offensive to the average broadcast audience, regardless of the language used. So they don't give a free pass just because it's not in English. FCC rules do cover broadcast television. Language, meaning the language that it's in, does not matter. Foreign language profanity can still be indecent or profane if the average viewer either understands it or if the context makes its meaning clear. In practice, foreign language gives less certainty Networks and regulators recognize it's a gray area. Spanish profanity that is slangy, innuendo-based, or not universally understood by the United States English-speaking audience is less likely to trigger enforcement than explicit English profanity with obvious meaning. So the best way to get the FCC to look into this, if this is something that you want, is to complain to the FCC. That's what Randy Fine did. Randy Fine issued a complaint. You can file a complaint with the FCC on the FCC's website. As a matter of fact, I did this once, not over something I saw on television, but because T-Mobile blocked my number from receiving or sending text messages after the election because I sent too many texts to voters all across the country. Dylan and I were going like shot for shot. He was like, I just knocked out another 100. I was like, I got to knock out another 100 now. Got to keep pace. And my phone number was reported, I guess, as spam, even though these people gave permission. So I complained with the FCC. I had T-Mobile's executive team had to call me and was like, listen, you violated our rules. I was like, I don't know, unlimited texting. I didn't know there were rules, right? They granted me like a one-time exception, but the FCC can force things to happen is my point. The FCC can force things to happen. So you need to complain with the FCC, file indecency complaints, and the FCC will look into this, okay? They will also look into the context in which these words were used, and the context ain't great either. Randy Fine highlighted exactly what was said, some of the songs and some of the lyrics in those songs, and the words that were used if they were translated into English, and folks, it's not good. Again, if I said some of these things on the radio, I would rightfully so get in trouble. Now, I ain't going to read them, but I will put them on the screen. So if you've got kids that kind of watch and you don't want them to see this, this is your like 30-second warning, right? I'm going to put these on the screen and we're going to scroll through them and you're going to look at them and you're going to see if I said any of these things, this, for example, if I said any of these things or quoted these lines and these lyrics when I went on with, let's say, Newsmax or One America News, or while I was filling in with 1210 WPHT or joining Kale and Company on Friday mornings or doing their 3 to 6 slot, their afternoon slot. If I said any of these things, there would be hell to pay. Now, if you got kids, make them look away in 3, 2, 1. Here you go. These are some of the lyrics that were used, translated to English, by Nasty Rabbit. There's an F-bomb right here. Some indecent context right over there. Sexual content 2/3 of the way down. Here we go. Some more. Yeah, this ain't great. The top 2 lines here. There's another F-bomb. Okay. Another F-bomb right there. That's 3 total F-bombs.
Aside from the actual F-bombs, just the entire
the
context.
The content of these words are... It's filthy, right? It's filthy. If you like that kind of thing, fine. It's not supposed to be on broadcast television is the point. Another one. There you go. This one's talking about drugs, whatever. Smoke a blunt. It is what it is. I mean, I'm sure that's not the first time that's been talked about on an NFL field. Let's see. And the final one here. There you go. It's just, these are look, right here, halfway through. This is the stuff that was on so the Washington Post called this wholesome. So whatever. You want to listen to things with dirty lyrics? Whatever. I'm not going to tell you that it's my favorite thing to listen to. But at the same time, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not saying you can't listen to it. I'm not saying you're any worse of a person if you enjoy it. I'm looking at it straight from a legal perspective, FCC violation perspective. If he had said all of those things in English, there would be no question that he violated the obscenity and profanity laws that the FCC governs broadcast medium over. I'm just saying. So, because he did it in Spanish, he gets a pass? Well, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. Anybody in the chat here? Let me ask you. Let's do a live poll in the chat here. Live poll. Would you consider what I just put on your screen wholesome? Would you consider that wholesome content? Because the Washington Post considers that wholesome content. John Kasich, the squish from Ohio, John Kasich said he loved the halftime. Did you guys see the John Kasich thing? And what he said about the halftime show? Again, I'm not trying to be like sissy word police. I'm just saying legally this is bad. All right, and if I did it, I'd be in trouble. And the network that allowed me to do it would be in trouble. And the broadcaster that allowed me to do it would be in trouble. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to find the John Kasich. Here we go. John Kasich, here it is, February 8th. This was yesterday. Love the halftime show, which celebrates the wonderful Latino culture. Great pick and great show. Bad Bunny hit a grand slam home run. This is what happens, by the way. John Kasich is what happens when Republicans rush to virtue signal. This weekend, it was nonstop that, right? It was Trump should apologize for the Obama meme with the Lion King that he didn't even post. It was a part of an auto scroll. They rushed to virtue signal. No. That's racist. See, I'm calling Trump racist. Give me points. Give me a gold star, Mr. and Mrs. Teacher. John Kasich. Oh, he hit a home run. Home run? Hey, John. With no spine. Tiny Easter eggs, right? John, which part of those songs and the lyrics that I just talked about were home runs? I'm very curious. Loved it. You didn't even know what the hell he was saying. Oh, we've got to make sure we get our pandering done for the day. Bad Bunny was just tremendous. He really celebrated the Latino culture. How many Latinos think that's a representation of their culture? Again, you want to party, you want to have a good time, you want to sing about things like that, you want to make songs with lyrics that are edgy. Whatever, you do you. If there are people that consume it, great. I'm a capitalist. If there's a market for your talents, by all means, provide your talents to that market. Monetize it. Do what you have to do. But the rush to pander from people like John Kasich, from people like Robert Griffin III, who's a hardcore leftist, from people like the Washington Post, it was wholesome. It was not wholesome. Bad Bunny's halftime show performance was not wholesome. And if I said some of the things that he said on that stage in that context, and you can see the way some of the dancers were moving, you know exactly what context he was singing those songs in and performing that routine in. Context is not in question here. I would get in trouble. The broadcaster that allowed me to do that on their airwaves would get in trouble. And so I'm saying, if, as our rooster says, nobody's above the law, then the FCC at the very least should look into this. And pressure should be put on the NFL. Because for years, the National Football League has tried to distance itself from its prior bad reputation, right? NFL, National Felon League, Ray Lewis, Dante Stallworth, Michael Vick, Ray Rice, a lot of this. They were like, we have to clean up our image. Let's do a Walter Payton Man of the Year. Let's do a lot of charity work. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of professional football players in the NFL who do unbelievable work off the field. I'm not taking any of that away from anybody. Bobby Wagner won the award this year. He did amazing work in his community. You guys know the type of stuff that Phillip Rivers is involved in with the crisis pregnancy centers and things of that nature, right? I'm not taking any of that away from the good ones. What I'm saying is the NFL had to try to distance themselves from the National Felon League reputation that they had for a while, that they have gone all the way over into the sissy corner of society, and they're now pandering to everybody. Be like, look how accepting we are. Look at the love. There was no love in the Super Bowl halftime show. If I was an owner in the National Football League, I would be on Roger Goodell's ass right now. Because you can get rid of Roger Goodell. My mailbox can run the National Football League and it can make money. Okay? So for the people who are saying, well, the owners aren't going to get rid of Goodell because Goodell's making the money. Anybody can run that league. It is automatic dollars. If I was an owner in the NFL right now, I would be making a huge deal out of what took place on that stage. I would be pressuring Roger Goodell to dump the relationship that they have with Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Did you know that Jay-Z has had the final say on the Super Bowl halftime show since 2020? Now does it make sense? There needs to be a pressure campaign and a PR campaign, public relations campaign waged on the NFL in order to effect change. Now, you could walk away from the NFL. That's one way you can wage pressure. I prefer to insert myself into the solution. I'm not playing football, but right here on LFA TV, I have a platform. On social media, I have a platform. I'm going to make some noise. Same way I'm talking about the Dignity Act, same way I'm talking about the SAVE Act, same way I'm talking about any sort of issues that mean something to me, I'm going to speak out. I would encourage you to speak out as well if it means that much to you. That is how the people win. All right. I think it's pretty much covered it, right?
Yeah. I think you got the point across.
Very good. Ooh. Very good. Okay. Quick break and a word from our friends at goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Let's do a quick word from Golden Crest. We'll reset. I'll have one more little tidbit on Nasty Rabbit, and then we'll get into some of the court wins yesterday. Because you are here for news, not just sports talk, although I do think this is news. So I promise this is not a sports show. That's on Saturday. But I hope you're enjoying it. Are you guys enjoying it? You guys enjoying the conversation? Nobody's above the law. We should hold Nasty Rabbit accountable. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're sharing the show with everybody as well. A word from our friends at Golden Crest Metals.
I'm sure by now you've heard that silver went up 160% last year, 2025. I bought this silver for $22 an ounce. It's now worth almost $100. And we and experts think that silver is going to get up to about $200 an ounce. Palladium and platinum were stuck at $900 an ounce for like over a year, or in that area. Now they're up over $2,000. Gold is approaching $5,000 an ounce. If you have ever thought about putting some or all of your retirement or nest egg or savings or just buying bullion in precious metals, now's the time to do it. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. That's goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Go leave your name, your email, and your phone number. Schedule a time to talk to the folks over at Golden Crest Metals. Get your free gold guide today, and make sure you tune in on Saturdays at 1 p.m. for the Crest Report, where we dive deep into precious metals, why they're doing what they're doing, and where we expect them to go. It is like insider trading. Nancy Pelosi knows about that. We don't. It's just inside information. It's not even really that. It's called knowledge. Get yours today and get a part of gold, silver, palladium, and platinum and diversify your portfolio today. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA.
goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Thank you, Jeremy and Golden Crest, for being a part of the show. Carl Benjamin, butt bunny. I'm sorry. I'm about 5. You make a butt joke, and I'm going to laugh at it. So there it is. That's funny. Live chat's on fire this morning. There you go. Porn bunny jackass. So it's fine. You know, I'm unhappy with what Nasty Rabbit did as well. Aside from the fact that it was all in Spanish, now that we know what he was actually saying, it's really bad. People with nothing to hide.
Oh. Hide stuff. Sorry. I was
Took
reading the chat.
Took a little long on that one. Right? There was a little pregnant pause on that one. I was like, just like people with nothing to hide. Suspense.
I wasn't listening to you.
Wait,
actually.
people with nothing to hide.
I was reading.
No, hide stuff.
I was reading the chat.
There it is. That was funny. People with nothing to hide stuff. Now, for example, I put out the video over the weekend on Sunday at 7 million views on X. Thank you very much, everybody. Shared it on X. 4 million on Instagram, Facebook. So I appreciate everybody who enjoyed it. You know, big time support. Appreciate all you guys. I'm proud of the work that I do. I'm proud of the videos that I put out. I think it's fun. I like to provide that stuff. People get a laugh out of it. It's great. I am not deleting my social media accounts because I like and I'm proud of the work that I'm doing and the things that I'm putting out. That's why I put it out. Nasty Rabbit nuked his entire Instagram account. Look at this. It's all gone. No more posts. No more tags. He's not following anybody. He nuked his whole Instagram account. The whole thing. People with nothing to hide nothing. They're not supposed to hide things, right? So if Nasty Rabbit was proud of what he did on Sunday at the Super Bowl, do you think he would have done that? If you're proud of something, do you hide it? It's the story here, right? What's the story here? Culturally too. Look, people say, look, here's the deal. I keep seeing this. Well, the Super Bowl halftime show had 130 million people watching, and Turning Point only had 20 or 30 million. Do you know how hard it is to get 20 or 30 million views? It's not easy. Okay? Now, was Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show ever going to eclipse the NFL and Super Bowl Sunday's halftime show broadcast on television all around the world? Was it ever going to eclipse it? The answer is no. If you thought for a second that Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show was going to get more views than the NFL, then somebody sold you a bill of goods. You never should have believed that, because that's just not the way it was going to work. So going in, I already knew that. So I'm not disappointed that they wound up with 100 plus million less views. It's to be expected. The fact that Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show got what they're estimating now, I mean, like 24 hours was like 20 million. Now it's like 40 to 60 million views. Is very significant. It's extremely significant. It's not easy to get that many views. Not at all. And to me, these were meaningful views. You know, people could come out and go, well, they're bots. Well, if they were bots, there wouldn't be any other actions outside of that All-American halftime show that would indicate that a lot of people, A, watched it, and B, appreciated what they saw. Well, we do have a metric that could show you that. Kid Rock and that song Till You Can't, which was Cody Johnson wrote that as well, or the original version of it, which is where Kid Rock basically told the country that was watching, open your Bibles and turn to God. And he talked about his faith, and he said, do it now while you still can, because one day you won't be able to do it anymore. This song is number 1 on the iTunes charts. Number 5 is Nasty Rabbit. Okay? So there is a meaningful after effect that can show you that the people that were watching the All-American halftime show put on by Turning Point USA, Brantley Gilbert, Gabby Barrett, Lee Brice, Kid Rock. There is a metric, there is a way of measuring just how well it did, and it is right there. Till You Can't by Kid Rock is dominating the iTunes charts right now, and it would not be doing that had there been no Turning Point USA All-American halftime show. The numbers, the data, that's what does the talking. Now, again, is the Turning Point All-American halftime show going to take down the NFL? No. What is the Turning Point All-American halftime show doing? Well, I think they already committed to doing it again next year. I think they're committing to doing it every year, which is good. It gives us an option. It gives us an option. It gives us the ability, and I wouldn't have watched the Bad Bunny halftime show anyway, and Kendrick Lamar, but I left my TV on during it last year, but it was so bad. It gives us the option. It gives us something else to watch. It gives everybody something else to watch that is actually wholesome, that actually sends a good message. But you've got the proof here that the Turning Point USA halftime show was widely viewed by real people who actually appreciated what they watched. He's number 1. Nasty Rabbit is number 5. Okay, the data speaks for itself. All right, let's move on. The Trump administration. What? We are.
I just have to know, because you said the word pregnant. I am not
pause.
pregnant.
No.
I'm not. Everybody in the chat.
Nobody's heard of a pregnant pause before?
I'm not pregnant, guys.
Oh, okay. It's a radio term. It's a when there's a lot of silence, it's called a pregnant pause. Everybody calm down. All right. Here, are we in Mo territory yet?
No, we're 6 away.
How the hell are we 6 away? Well, it's 9:45. What do we do? You know what? Now 8:50 is the Mo number for today. Get me to 8:50, because I'm not happy with the timing today. So I moved the goalposts. You're right. I did. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, I think it's the Court of Appeals, hands Donald Trump's administration a massive win with this TPS, temporary protected status ruling. What took place in the Ninth Circuit yesterday? We'll talk about it right now. Susie Moore, red state, right here. The admin scored a big win at the appellate court level, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, handed down a huge victory A stay of a lower court ruling vacating Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem's termination of TPS designations for Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Multiple temporary protected status cases are being litigated at present. It's a bit challenging to keep them all straight, but this one involves TPS designations for Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Secretary Noem terminated the TPS designations for all three countries in the summer of 2025. The plaintiffs sued. They blocked that termination so they would be able to stay in the country, right? And in late December, District Judge Trina Thompson, which is the Northern District of California, determined, of course, that Noem's decisions violated the Administrative Procedure Act and entered a judgment vacating the terminations. The administration appealed, and with Monday's ruling, the Ninth Circuit not only granted a stay pending appeal, but struck at the very heart of the number of related rulings. Quote, "We conclude that the government is likely to succeed on the merits of its appeal, either by showing that the district court lacked jurisdiction or by prevailing on plaintiff's arbitrary and capricious APA challenge. The court distinguished this case involving the termination of TPS from its recent ruling in a case involving Noem's vacatur order of a TPS designation, which found that she had exceeded her statutory authority. The Ninth Circuit basically said that Noem is allowed to terminate TPS designations. The court also found it likely the administration will succeed on the merits of the APA claim. The court said here, essentially, that Kristi Noem and Homeland Security has the authority to terminate TPS status of TPS recipients, right? People who have temporary protected status, if arbitrarily the Department of Homeland Security finds that they no longer need to be afraid to be in the country that they came from. Okay? So let me see if I could find. Here it is. The TPS statute 8 U.S.C. section 1254A permits the Secretary of Homeland Security, this is from the ruling itself, to designate a foreign state for TPS when nationals of that state cannot return there safely due to armed conflict, natural disaster, or other extraordinary and temporary conditions. TPS holders are eligible for work authorization and protection from removal while their home country remains designated. Periodically, the Secretary shall review the conditions in the foreign state for which a designation is in effect, and shall determine whether the conditions for such designation continue to be met. If the Secretary finds that the conditions are no longer met, she shall terminate the designation by publishing notice in the Federal Register of the determination. Okay, that's from the court order itself. So it basically says, if Kristi Noem doesn't think there should be a designation in those countries anymore, she can say, all right, your TPS status is over. You guys can go home now. Can't stay here. Got to leave. Big win. Huge win in the courts. Huge win in the courts in the mass deportation arena. All right. A quick break and a word from our friends over at Silent. That's slnt.com/Sean. slnt.com/Sean. Let's face it, your phone, ladies and gentlemen, is a tracking device, tracking you everywhere you go. Between government agencies, big tech, corporate data brokers, even cyber criminals, they're all over the place. They're all fighting for a piece of your digital footprint, and they don't ask. They just go on and take it. That is why Silent exists. Silent makes Faraday gear. It blocks all wireless signals, including cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, and near-field communications. No signal means no tracking, no remote access, and no breadcrumbs. This is the same technology that is trusted by special operations teams worldwide, used to block signals, avoid surveillance, and secure communications wherever the mission leads. And right now, it is available to you to protect your family, to protect your freedom, and to secure your digital footprint. All you got to do is drop your phone in a Silent Faraday sleeve, and it is off the grid. Completely silent and invisible to the outside world, from their backpacks to their sleeves to their crossbodies. Silent's patented technology gives you control of your privacy. Just visit SLNT, that's Sierra Lima, November Tango.com/Sean, SHAWN, spell it right, to save 15% and get free shipping on qualifying orders. That is SLNT.com/Sean. Protect your rights, secure your data, and stay one step ahead. SLNT.com, silence the chaos, and go silent today. SLNT.com/SHAWN. All right. one more big win in the courts. A federal judge, ain't no fun when the rabbits got the gun, and the federal judges make rulings that we like, right? That California is going to have a hard time with. A federal judge, which we knew was going to happen. They were big-time overreaches going on here with these federal judges and these ICE policies. Federal judge blocked California's law that requires ICE to take off their masks. I would have gone in there in court and just been petty and been like, well, what if they're afraid of COVID? Right? What if they're afraid of COVID? I remember in New York, when the mask thing started happening and people started, wearing masks into a bank. And I was like, isn't that illegal? Right? Like, isn't that something that you weren't supposed to do? Because, like, bank robberies and stuff. Did we hit 850 yet, by the way?
No, we're 10 away.
Gosh.
Why did you change it?
Because we got to 800 too late, so I changed it.
No.
Yeah.
We got,
No, there's no excuse.
But that's.
There's no excuse because we have
sounds
2,000
gay and
people.
retarded.
We have 2,000 people in here. We can't get to 850 in 60 minutes. What are we doing? This is ridiculous, right? Come on.
Because people are complaining that it's from the sports talk.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, then you don't get Mo. It's not me. I'm not the one that's not hitting the thumb button, right? All right. California is not going to be allowed to put this rule. She said the law does not apply equally to all law enforcement officers in the state. It unlawfully discriminates, against federal officers. A judge in California blocked the state from enforcing a law in the state that prohibits immigration and customs enforcement agents and other law enforcement agencies from wearing masks in the state. Judge Christina Snyder from the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California partially granted a motion for a preliminary injunction by the Trump administration, blocking a portion of SB 627, also known as the No Secret Police Act, give me a break, from taking effect. A law enforcement officer shall not wear a facial covering. This is from the law that conceals or obscures their facial identity in the performance of their duties, except as expressly authorized in this section. Facial coverings are defined under the bill as any opaque mask, garment, helmet, headgear, or other item that conceals or obstructs the facial identity of an individual, including but not limited to a balaclava, tactical mask, gator ski mask, and any similar type of facial covering or face shielding item. Judge Snyder wrote that while the Trump administration has not presented compelling evidence of any economic or operational burden from the enforcement of a facial covering prohibition or visible identification requirement for federal law enforcement officers, it's showing that the facial covering prohibition likely violates the Supremacy Clause is nonetheless sufficient to establish that enforcement of that provision would amount to irreparable harm. So a big win in the courts there in California. Okay. A big win in the courts. What do you got?
It is time
look at that. There it is. We got Mo. See? You just got to, you get Mo.
Expectations were at 874. Now.
All right, cool. Now I'm not going to move the goalposts for MAGA Mo. If you get 26, we'll still do that, right? But there it is.
Woo-hoo.
Had to wake
Come
some
on
folks
and
up
Mo.
there. So good win in the courts. Good win in the courts. Two good wins in the courts. The Ninth Circuit and this federal judge in the Central District of California. I want to get to one more thing. And this is from, I was going to play it yesterday. I am so tired of Republicans rushing to condemn things that Trump does for the sake of doing it. This is what they do, right? John Kasich with the whole, Bad Bunny's halftime show was great. You didn't even know what he said. That's why I put in his replies. Which part of it was great, John? You see all this? Which part of it was great? Was it the part about, here with the, or was it, which part of it was good? Which part of it did you like? What did you just like that he spoke Spanish and you found an opportunity to go, hey, here's a way I can demonstrate that I actually don't hate Spanish people, even though you probably already don't hate Spanish. And you don't have to pander and defend yourself publicly like that. Just don't do this. Here is Mike Lawler, again, one of the steadfast advocates of the Amnesty Act, the Dignity Act, which we played for you yesterday. Well, it's not realistic to kick out 25 million, but we're not looking to give them citizenship. And then we played the original sponsor, Maria Salazar, saying, first we give them dignity, and then somebody else will give them citizenship. So someone's lying. Either she's lying, Mikey, or you're lying, Mr. Lawler. Someone's lying. Guys, got to get your messaging straight. It's not very good. Mike Lawler rushed to the mainstream media over the weekend to clutch his pearls. I can't believe this. The meme. The meme with the line. Oh, he should apologize. Why do Republicans do this? Why? Watch this.
Should the president apologize?
Look, I think sometimes in our public discourse, it is best to just say, I'm sorry. I take the White House at their word that this was a mistake. But at the end of the day, given the history of our nation, given the insensitivities with some of the stereotypes that have long been promulgated to attack African Americans, I think it's imperative to recognize that and meet the moment. I think sometimes it's just best to say, I'm sorry, and do better. And I think, given the situation, I'm glad they deleted it. But that type of meme or, implication is wrong. And I think whoever created the original meme is an idiot. Now I'm
going to stop it right there because I know who created the original meme. And his name is Xerias, Xerias. He's on X, and he's not an idiot. He's the one who made the meme, I think it was him, of Trump dropping Dookie from an airplane on Harry Sisson. Not an idiot, actually very creative. And, these are stereotypes that are used to get... How come nobody cares when people compare, like, Paul Ryan to a monkey? Or, for example, Nancy Pelosi. I almost said Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, you gotta stop calling me a capuchin monkey. I don't look like a chimpanzee. That's a word she can't say. Chimpanzee. How come nobody cares when we compare her to a monkey? Do it again. See what happens. That's right.
It's Magbo time.
How come nobody compares when white people? Again. Good job, guys. Good job. Credit where it's due. Right? Yeah. It's unbelievable. Right? So, again, this is not about racism. This is Mike Lawler taking an opportunity to pander. Yes, he's in a purple district. Is he politicking? Probably. But it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Everyone's always in a rush. Well, they got to condemn that. You know what I got to condemn? I got to condemn the fact that I'm going over too long. Jeremy Harrell is coming up next here on rumble.com/LFA TV with Live from America for the next 2 hours. Welcome back, Jeremy. He is back. Coming up right here. You don't have to go anywhere. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you share this with your friends. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, rumble.com/LFA TV. If you're watching or listening, make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast. The audio side is doing very well right now. Hit subscribe, totally free. You can listen on audio too. It's just the audio version of this show. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As President Trump says, we will never give up, we will never give in, and we will never ever surrender. And if all else fails, we'll just become ungovernable. Thank you. God bless you. God bless this one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jeremy up next. Good night, everybody. Bang gavel. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We will see you tomorrow.